Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to a new year of Healthy in a Wild World. Today we are talking with Carrie Paglarini. There we go.
It's a tough one.
She is the sugar knockout coach. I met her through Alternative Healthcare Solutions, and she and I both have hosted multiple sessions. Man, brain and speaking. And one thing that we share in common is the belief that sugar could be an addiction, the belief that sugar could be the thing that is keeping you stuck, keeping you stagnant, and that there's actually something you can do about it. So we're going to talk about that today. And I am going to let Carrie introduce herself. So, Carrie, would you please introduce yourself?
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much. I think we need to be talking more about sugar addiction as a whole in society so people can understand, like, it is addictive. It's not your fault. It's not willpower. There are things we'll talk about that you can do, but white knuckling through is not it. Tried to do it, doesn't work. Anyway, my name is Carrie Paglarini. I call myself the sugar knockout coach. Because I help women kick their sugar addiction. So without massive restriction, without counting calories, it's more about learning how to control your cravings, instead of feeling like you can never eat a piece of chocolate cake ever again, right? I love chocolate cake. I love sugar. And you'll hear me say this if any of you have heard me speak before. Life is really, really short without chocolate cake. And if I am told I can never eat a piece of chocolate cake again, guess what? I'm going to want to eat chocolate cake. So now I really help people do that so that they can feel in control of their cravings. They can enjoy the piece of chocolate cake without the guilt, without the shame, without then eating the entire chocolate cake, right? Like, how do we figure out this balance? Like I said, without the guilt and shame. So that is really what I do now. And it's amazing.
Love it. I love it. How did your career get to the point that you focus so much on sugar?
Such a great question. So my health journey was my own journey, right? Like most of us, where I'm helping the people that, I've been there. I know what it's like to be addicted to sugar. And if I'm being honest, I probably have been addicted to sugar since I was really, really young. So I was the kind of kid that ate a lot of fruits and vegetables, but I also ate a lot of sugar. And then as I became a teenager, right, and I could go make my own choices and buy my own food, I was buying lots of candy, gummy candy, jelly beans are my absolute favorite. Right? I love candy and I love ridiculous amounts. And I was eating just a lot of it. And I had a lot of health issues. So I had migraines all the time. So if any of you have migraines and can relate to that, a lot of migraines. So I was constantly taking Advil and Excedrin migraine, like 2 to 3 migraines a month, which are super debilitating, right? It's like you're down for 2 to 3 days. And then a week later, like it's happening again. I also had a lot of gut issues, which I didn't know that there were gut issues at the time, right? Like speaking your language, lots of gas, lots of bloating. So I was also, Tums, Gas X, that was also in my purse. Like, this is my toolkit. This is how I'm taking care of myself. And I also had some hormonal issues that I ended up in the hospital needing surgery. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, that was my wake up call. So I started reading books on health and nutrition. One is called The Body Ecology Diet. Have you read it?
I have not read it, but I've heard snippets.
Yeah, it's amazing. So it's all about gut health, overeating sugar. Like it was exactly what was happening to me. So I went on a very strict anti-candida diet because I was terrified, which you do not need to do. But once I cut all that sugar, and I could see, like, changing diet and lifestyle, I healed myself, right? I know we're not supposed to be healed, but I did. I healed myself and I really wanted to share it with other people. So I also started working with a health coach and I was like, I need to do this. Like, this is amazing. I want to share this with everybody. Like, this was not information that I knew because I was raised a certain way. And then, like I said, well, I don't know if I mentioned this piece. So I was also very thin. And so I could eat whatever I want. People told me that. And I kind of wore that like a badge of honor, like, oh, I'm eating all the fried foods and all the candy. And I mean, at my sickest point, I weighed the least. And that's what I love to tell people because it's not about the weight. It's not about the weight. It's being sick internally. I was so ill, so thin and so ill. Yeah, we got off on a little bit of a tangent for that, right? But I have seen that you can heal the body if you give it the materials to do so. And so I really wanted to share that with everybody because I mean, now I've been doing this for a long time on my own personal journey. And at the time, I think people are more aware now, but at the time, people really weren't. And people still don't want to believe you can be addicted to sugar, but you absolutely can be. And we're in total control of our health just by making some simple choices. Yeah. So help people make those choices and feel good.
Yeah. I think that's the part that a lot of people struggle with is they don't understand that we're actually in control of so much more than what we've been led to believe. And it's,
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily society's fault. It started out as conventional medicine is filling the gaps that holistic medicine can't, helping us get over emergencies,
Yeah.
really intense situations, illnesses, things of that nature. Where today it's kind of gone a little bit too extreme.
Mm-hmm.
And our go to is I have a sniffle, I'm going to go to the doctor and get a pill. When in reality, it's not that serious. I mean, it could be like
Yeah. Yeah.
legitimately, it could be. But when you're starting out, if you have a good, solid foundation,
Mm-hmm.
then it doesn't need to go that route. And a lot of people I talk to, my message used to be take back control of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you become a partner in your health with your doctor. My doctor is more open if we are having an intelligent conversation. I know my body, I know what I eat. Like one of my doctors was like, "Oh, your energy's probably low because you're not eating carbohydrates." I'm like, "But I do eat carbohydrates because I know what a carbohydrate is."
Right. 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 I have one doctor tell a client that, and this was before she started working with me, told her that grains were carbohydrates. And those were the only carbohydrates. Fruits and vegetables aren't
Mm-hmm.
carbohydrates. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, you need
Mm-hmm.
to go back and ask him where he got his degree because no. Google
Yeah.
it, please.
Yep.
If you're
Google
not
it.
me, just
Yeah.
Google it.
But I think it's also a lot of pressure on conventional doctors to like show up and it's like, fix me. Well, how about let's have a conversation about what I know about myself? And then they're more open and then it can be a conversation versus, like my grandma's generation, give me a pill and just make it better.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You're in
I mean,
charge of your own health,
exactly. Exactly. I come
which is
from
amazing.
nurses, conventional nurses,
Mm-hmm.
and every one of them is conventional, conventional, conventional. It's funny now though, because a lot of my family is starting to see, and I don't think it's me. I think it is what's out on
Yeah.
social media, what's out in society nowadays. And I love this flip. I'm really hoping that at some point we
Mhm.
just get to a place where everybody's in partnership with each other.
Yeah.
I think doctors need more of a nutrition education.
Yeah.
You know,
Or be open to send somebody to a nutritionist or a health coach or a naturopath. Yeah.
exactly, exactly. Somebody,
Yeah.
there's someone that had that education that they didn't get. I have no
Hmm.
problem sending someone to a doctor, to a practitioner, to a provider that I don't work with.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's a case. So I will tell you, I actually started out in life super thin, underweight. I was struggling to absorb a lot of nutrients. I was
Hmm.
not addicted to sugar.
Oh.
That's never really happened to me until we went through fertility.
Oh.
All those hormones and
Yeah.
back and forth. But I did have a lot of migraines in my 20s.
Mm.
And when I first lost weight, I was 30. Um, and I lost 100 pounds.
Amazing.
One of the things I got rid of was the alcohol I was drinking,
Mm.
which is sugar.
Sugar. Hey, listen, the fried foods I were eating had no calories and no sugar as far as I was concerned.
Mm-mm. And I was told the same thing all my life too, is you can eat whatever you want and you're not going to
Hmm.
gain anything. And my dad has always been one of those people as well. Well, come to find out after he retired, he was just very busy. He was
Yeah.
burning a lot of what he was eating. So there
Hmm.
was a lot more balance in his world. And when I was in my 20s, I became a event manager for the federal government. Long story. I started out in contracts in the law section, somehow ended up as an event manager within a few days. And it was very sedentary. It's very,
Yeah.
traveling. It's a 24/7 job. Um, and that was about the point that weight really started coming on.
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
And when you're the person in charge of the budget, you get a lot of things for free. You get a lot of very good meals, which are just very heavy carb,
Yeah.
heavy calories, heavy fat, not in a good way. And it just, there's no way of working around a sedentary diet or a
Yeah.
sedentary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can't do it. You need all of it.
I know. I know. Actually, a friend of mine wrote a book that was said you can't outrun your diet, right? Because it's
Heard
the
of that.
total
Yeah.
opposite. Yeah, you can't just work out and get rid of it all, which I thought I could also do, right? I've done it all.
Yeah. I got a little wake up call when I first moved to California because I started losing weight and then I moved to California and started
Mm,
with a trainer and nutritionist, and they helped me lose the bulk of it. And my trainer sat me down and Shauna was like, "Look, you think you can keep eating all these things and come to me and I'm going to fix it?
mhm.
No." I will never forget. She got right in my face and just, I was like, "Okay, all right." And she's shorter than I am. She's a short little thing. And man, she was brutal. But she was honest.
Yeah,
The thing that I appreciated about her is she was very honest about everything and
yeah.
put it out there. You can't work it off,
Mhm.
and you can't have such a healthy diet that it's going to combat sedentary lifestyle.
Yeah. It's both. You need both. Yeah.
Yep. You really do. And things like what we're doing with for us with Wild Free Health and with you with the sugar knockout programs that you have, they're so crucial in our world.
Yeah. And things I wish I knew a long time ago. So
Mhm.
I was very sick in my 20s, and then my late 20s is when I had surgery. So that was my wake up call, cuz yeah, you're like, wow, I don't like that my life is if you follow the traditional. Well, then we just give you this pill or then we just do this. I didn't want that. I was kind of terrified that I wasn't going to be in control. So,
Ew.
yeah. Yeah. Being a control freak helps when when you're trying to figure this stuff out.
That and like in my 20s, I felt so young.
Yeah.
I felt like I was too young for any of this. I was too young to be dealing with this. There's a lot of family history of, unhealthy habits, uh,
Mm,
heart disease, diabetes, cancer it just runs rampant through our family. But when we test for the genes, none of us have it. So there's something there.
mhm. Yeah.
And I remember just being in my 20s and just thinking, man, I'm too young for this. And when I look back and see pictures, which now it's kind of funny, everyone asked for pictures of me back then, and we don't have a lot of them. I don't know
Oh.
what happened to them, but we don't have a lot of them.
Hmm.
That was before cell phones. If you look at my cell phone and my storage today, like
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. Slightly obsessed with my camera.
I think we all are.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I come from a photography background too, so like it just
Oh,
yeah, I got all the cameras rolling. But we don't have a lot of those pictures, and even still, the ones that I do get to see every once in a while, it doesn't look like me. It doesn't feel like
yeah. Yeah.
it feels like a different person.
Yeah. And I wonder if we have to get like, did I have to get to that place? Like, was that, did I, you know, I
I
had to, I guess. I guess I'm lucky that it happened now in my early, my late 20s versus 40s or even 50s, 60s and having no tools, right? It's really hard to change habits as we get older.
It really is. It really is. I think the most motivation for me is always remembering. So I had a client probably about 4 or 5 years into training, and she was coming up on her 72nd birthday. She had just turned
Mm,
or no, she was coming up on her 70th birthday, 70th birthday. And she wanted to change her life because she didn't like the trajectory it was
Yeah.
going. She had never had to work out in her life. She'd always eaten relatively healthy, but she had never worked out in her life. And this was her first time. She just turned 69. She wanted something different for her 70th birthday, and she decided she was going to climb Half Dome, but she needed help to train to climb Half Dome. And I'm like, uh, okay,
That's awesome.
do this. Let's do this. Please tell me you're going to walk with somebody else.
Yeah,
Because
like what?
you and I are doing this together because I'm not letting you go up Half Dome by yourself. Well, she ended up not only completing it that year, but and the last time I touched base with her, I think she was 83, and it's been a while. Um, and she went every year after that.
Oh, yeah.
So there's always, it's never too late. And there's someone that I follow for business and planning and prep, and she always says, right now is the right time for you.
Hmm.
Now is the perfect time.
Yeah. What a great message. And so true, especially, yeah, when you're open to it. Some people, again, like we were talking, some people just get on medication and that, once they feel like once that's done and then that the trajectory, right? That was what I didn't want to happen to me.
Right. Right. It's so common nowadays.
Yeah.
And you're given one pill, but then that pill causes something else. So then you have to go on another pill. So then that causes something else down the line. And
Yeah.
it's a domino effect.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what happened to me, right? You have all the headaches, so you take all the medication that ruin your gut, so you take the gut medication, but you're also having hormonal issues that trace back to the gut, right? It was this whole cascade effect, and once you see it, you can't unsee.
Exactly. Exactly. I see it in so many people. And when people are so close to you, you can't say anything. They're not
Mhm.
going to listen to you. So you have to just hope that you send them the right things to give them the right direction.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Or I have at the family functions, like, oh, the sugar knockout coach is eating a piece of chocolate cake. I'm like, when have I ever said that you can't eat chocolate cake ever again?
right?
But I think that's also like the message that people hear, right? Oh, you can't eat sugar anymore, or you have to eat healthy, and then it becomes this one way, but it's really not.
It's not, there's a balance to it, and
Hmm.
eat the good things. And I'm always talking about ingredients with people. And it's so
Yeah.
funny. My sister came up this weekend and or last week during winter break, and her friend's daughter is staying with her as a foreign exchange student. So she was trying to show her Dallas, and she came up, and my sister is a completely different household. And she showed up, and I was trying to explain the way that our house works, right? And she had never had cereal ever.
Oh.
And we actually have cereal in the house because
Mhm.
husband is not, we have two different philosophies. So we actually do have cereal in the house. I'm not happy about it, but like there's certain fights that you
Yeah.
just you just have to just let go. You
Hmm.
so we have cereal in the house, and she couldn't figure out what to eat because we have an ingredients household.
Uh, oh, you mean like stuff you need to put together? Hmm.
Yep. And I prep things. There's frozen waffles in the freezer. There's
Yeah.
taco or breakfast tacos were in the freezer, and pancakes and things like that. Um, but she didn't understand that's where they were because it's a little bit different in my sister's house.
Yeah.
Things come in these boxes. They're
Mhm.
not they're not in like these reusable containers. And when I walked out from the shower, she was eating tricks. And my sister's like, "So I'm curious, what does it taste like?" And she goes, "Like a ball of sugar." I'm like, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Where is she from?
Germany.
Uh huh. Hmm. It's also fascinating the ingredients that they don't have over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first time she made pancakes, she went and got ingredients.
Yeah.
She didn't go for a pancake box.
Yeah.
And it shocked my sister. And I was like, well, that's what I do.
Yeah.
But, my husband, I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. It's really just we've had
Mhm.
different life journeys.
Yeah.
And, we've been together for 10 years and he had said, "Well, I'm going to make pancakes, but we don't have pancake mix." And I had said, "Well, I'll mix them up for you. Just give me a minute."
Yeah.
I come I come out of the bedroom because I was folding laundry. I come out and he's gone to the store to get pancake mix. And I was like, oh,
Yeah. We
wow.
have the ingredients for that.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, to his credit, he came back with the Kodiak
Oh,
line.
yeah. Uh-huh. Or the birch benders is pretty good too, but yeah.
And I
Mhm.
approve. He could have come back with something else. But it was just like, okay, okay. You do you. You make your pancakes.
Yeah.
I'm I'm gonna step away from the kitchen now.
Well, I've had people come over and they're like, "You don't have any food." I'm like, "What do you
Yes.
what do you mean?"
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a dual thing going on here too, and I own a house. I don't know if I told you this. My parents and I own a house together. When I got divorced, I was a single mom, so we're like, "I need some help, they need some help," like, but my mom loves snacks. So there's snacks that we wish weren't here but are, and that's hard. And that's why I tell my people right away. I'm like, "You gotta start removing that stuff and replacing because that will throw you off."
Yeah. It's so funny. Ever since the fertility stuff, if it's in the house, I'm going to eat it.
Mhm.
And I'm not a big I've never been a big I love chocolate person.
Yeah.
It's never been my thing. Twizzlers, the fruity things,
Mhm.
the gummy things, those are
Oh.
that I love those.
Mhm.
If it's chocolate, I have to have something in it. But the thing is if it's in the house,
Yeah. Yep.
so I just don't keep it in the house. It's special occasion.
Mhm.
I'll get like the last time I went grocery shopping, the boys and I stopped at a place called Sugar Llama, which they're in a lot of places. Mini donuts, and they're absolutely delicious.
Mhm.
Um, I buy a pack of 3. There's one for each of us, and then we're done. That's your treat. So they'll
Mhm.
and like we'll go and we'll buy donuts from a organic shop that I know. It's gluten-free and dairy-free, and so we'll go
Yeah.
and we'll get a donut from there, and it tastes more like a muffin, which
Yeah.
make them donuts here. I have
Yeah.
little
Uh-huh.
maker,
Me too.
you know?
Mhm.
So they don't realize that donuts are supposed to be these sugar sweet things.
Yeah.
Helps because I have one of the twins will actually have like a bite or two and then he's like, I'm done.
Oh,
Yes.
yes.
And you're doing that? Okay, how do I keep this going?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna keep this one rolling. Because to have that start, I mean that's really the ideal situation with our kids.
I know. I
How do
know.
how do we teach them better?
I know, and start now, and that's always the conversation. I'm like, "Okay, I understand you want candy, and I also don't wanna be like, no candy because that forces" right? Again, back to the restrictive, that's all I want, but let's have a conversation about why, and also I'm like, "Okay, we need to eat protein." Like, we've gotta make sure you're eating the right things before. Like, this morning, I was like, "You wanna have a little bit of cereal? Okay, you need to eat protein with that. So what's that gonna be today?" So
Right.
hopefully to get his mindset thinking about that. I mean, lunch is great because you send him off to school and that's all he has to eat, right? What's in his bag,
Right.
and that's a non-issue. But when we're home, I'm like, how do I teach him to make better decisions and hopefully take those through life?
Exactly. Exactly. It's interesting seeing these guys because I mean, I don't think you ever stop worrying.
You know.
I mean, my goddaughter is about to turn 30 and I still worry about her every single day. And I don't think it'll ever go away. And she's not somebody that I physically had myself. I was very
Mhm.
close to her for 9 years, and beyond. So, it's one of those things where I don't think you ever stop worrying,
Yeah.
but I wasn't taught to eat healthy until I was much older. So I
Mhm.
don't really know how to do that with kids. I'm winging it just like everybody
Yeah.
else,
Yeah. Right.
just like everybody else. And I figure, the kid Drew stops eating sugar, which is good because he's hyperactive. Of the two, it is great that he is the one that stops. And Keegan will tell you if you're gassy that you need lemonade, which
Oh,
is lemon water.
yeah. Yeah.
So something's being done right. Just like
Yeah.
something's clicking in their brains. And I think this generation, our generation, and the ones just past or just younger than us
Yeah.
that have these kids, it's kind of up to us to make sure they understand these things.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Get the education that we didn't have without being too restrictive and figure it out. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I tell people I'm not perfect by any means. And if you think that's it, I haven't been sharing enough, guys.
Exactly. Exactly. I tell people all the time, you need to just get it right 80% of the time.
Uh-huh.
Your
Hmm.
body will help you the other 20. Just get it right 80% of the time and you'll be fine.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. What we do on a daily basis determines our health. Not that I had chocolate over the weekend. That doesn't, but let that go.
Yeah, it's so funny. I have so many people that I'm like, I need to see your food log because I need to see what's happening. I only
Yeah.
talk to you a short amount of time.
Yeah.
And your brain lies to you, just like my brain lies to me. So you need to put it on paper. You need to write
Mhm.
it down to make sure that you're not lying to yourself,
Yeah.
you know? So, and I have so many people who are resistant and the one thing, I don't know if you hear this, I'm sure you do, is, but then you'll see what I'm eating. Well, yeah, that's
Yeah. That's the whole
the
point.
point. It's more so that you can see what you're
I
eating.
was just going to say it, but now you'll also know. And it's funny. So in my programs, I talk a lot about not only like being aware of what you're eating, but tuning into your body as to how you're feeling after you eat this stuff. And it's, right after, it's an hour later, it's a few hours later, because I used to do, right. And I feel like we're from the same generation that we didn't eat fat, right? Like fat was really bad. And so I didn't eat any fat. And so in the morning, I'd be like, I'm going to have a whole grain bagel because it's good for me with no butter and no cream cheese. And then an hour later, I'm starving. Also, I had a sugary coffee with that. So let's be honest. But
Yeah.
starving an hour later, maybe that's not the right choice for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the number one lesson, number one thing I focus on with my clients is teaching them how to listen to their bodies.
Mhm.
Everything's a signal. You're in constant communication. Your conscious and subconscious, they're constantly communicating. So if you can figure out what your subconscious is telling you, then it's much easier to live a healthier life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But we haven't tuned in so long, some of us, right? And so for a long time, I managed my emotions with sugar. And so then you're not tuning in at all. You're just numbing out with sugar. So yeah, which
Yep.
is interesting when they start cutting back on the sugar. And maybe you've noticed this, these emotions come up, right? Like, what is this all about? Oh, well, no, that's always been there, but we haven't been dealing with it because we've been numbing out with sugar. Did it for a long time. Again, no judgment. I've done it all.
Yeah, I think we all have had our moments. There's a woman, Mama Gina. She
Mm-hmm.
women's health, women's empowerment.
Yep.
Um, And I love her philosophy of swamping.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I teach all of my clients is, if your emotions are getting the best of you, you either plan the time now,
Mm,
let it out, get it out, or your body's going to decide for you.
yeah.
And it's never going to be convenient. You're going to be in that really important meeting or that really important interview or PTA or, parent teacher conference, or whatever. And you're just going to burst into tears and it's going to be uncontrollable. And you don't know why.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what.
Yeah. God, so amazing. I used to have a coach that used to say, sit in the shit. Hopefully I can say that on.
Yes. Well,
She's like, yeah. But okay. She's like, you got to sit in the shit sometimes. You got to feel the emotions and you have to, so then you can identify and not medicate with food.
exactly. Exactly. Because there's so much, especially as kids, when you're young, you really don't have a lot of control over your brain going, ooh, that was traumatic. Cut it off.
Yeah.
And if you're in a place where you have a lot of trauma as a kid that you don't remember, but you're struggling with your health in your 20s and your
Mhm.
30s, then all of a sudden you're going to remember these things.
Yeah.
And if you're not allowing yourself to just stop and feel what you're going to feel, you never get past it. You stay on that hamster wheel.
Mhm. Yeah. Break that cycle. It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Trauma is trauma, but you know what? We have psychologists, we have
Yeah.
people like you and I mean, there's people everywhere that can help. And
Mhm.
even in tough financial situations, tough budgets, there's a way to find somebody to be on your side, to support you.
Mhm. Absolutely.
Oh, crazy. Crazy world.
I know.
Crazy world. So what would your top recommendations be for someone who is trying to ditch the sugar once and for all?
Awesome. So, in my programs, and I work with my folks, so there's physical and emotional reasons for cravings. I usually start with the physical because I feel like that's the easiest one to remove, right? Just tell me what to eat, right? I'm sure people do. Just tell me what to eat, and so that's the easiest thing. So once they're kind of on that path, um, they can feel like they're more in control of their cravings. Their cravings will be less, and then when they do have a craving, they know it's an emotional piece. So I'll start with a couple of the physical. So the first is these are your friends when you're eating. Every meal should include protein, healthy fat, and fiber. So these things have very little, they don't really affect our blood sugar as much. So our blood sugar can be stable. They're broken down at a slower rate. So that should be at every meal, even snacks. And when I say protein at every meal, people are like, how much chicken does she want me to eat? Right? So it doesn't just have to be animal protein. There are so many other sources, and really, I don't think anyone should be eating that much unless you're like a bodybuilder or doing something like that. So there are many other sources, but those are the three things I think I want you to think about when you're creating your meals or tweaking meals that you already make, because I think that's challenging too. People think they need to eat this completely different diet, and really, we need to tweak what we already enjoy eating by just adding those elements. And I'll tell you, if you eat those things first, then you can enjoy a piece of chocolate cake without your blood sugar spiking and crashing. So when your blood sugar crashes, then you want to eat more, and usually it's refined carbohydrates. So that's my first: protein, healthy fat, fiber. If you have any questions about what that is, you should definitely ask Bonnie, or you can reach out to me. So that's the first one. So the second one is, which I just said this should be included in every meal, but especially at breakfast, because we set up our blood sugar for the day and we can really get off to a start without having a lot of cravings. I used to wake up and just drink a sugary coffee. Not a good idea. So we definitely need to have protein in the morning. And it doesn't have to just be eggs. People automatically assume that it's that. It could be a protein shake. It could be gluten-free oats with protein powder mixed in. Like there's so many ways to include protein in your breakfast. Now with smoothies, be careful because that can turn into a sugar bomb real quick. But again, if it has the things it needs, you can have some fruit in there. But if you're also putting fiber, like some yummy green veggies in there, protein powder, some healthy fat. I put coconut oil in our smoothies in the morning. I love coconut oil. We have a lot of it just because it's a great way to add healthy fat. Um, so there are ways to have balanced meals and have balanced smoothies in the morning. As people ask me a lot about fruit, I love fruit. It's just we can't eat a ton of it on our own, especially if we have blood sugar issues, which makes me sad because I love fruit and I ate a ton of it when I was kicking my sugar addiction. And
Mhm.
then the last thing I would say is while you're awake, people give me pushback on this. Do not go longer than 3 hours without eating. So, intermittent fasting, yes, there are absolute health benefits to it. But when you are kicking your sugar addiction, you need to keep your blood sugar stable, right? By eating every 3 hours. And if you're starving after an hour, again, like we talked about, you got to check in with what you just ate. And maybe it wasn't enough protein. Maybe it was you had too many starchy carbs. Only you know your body and you know what's working. So you got to kind of experiment. I wish it was everybody just eat this. People ask me all the time, how many carbohydrates should I eat? I don't know. I have no idea. You do. You have to tune in, and over time, we'll figure that out. And then what's awesome is once you know that and you start getting off track, or you're like, what? Then you just tune right into your body and you can figure out what's going on. Like, we're so in control of our health. It's amazing. So those would be my top three. But people ask about intermittent fasting all the time. And I'm like, you got to get your sugar under control before you can do that. Or some people do it at the end of the day, right? They eat in the morning and then they stop, and that can work too. Again, you know your body best, but at the beginning, I do not recommend it.
I actually recommend, especially when they're first starting for the first 3 to 4 weeks, that they eat every 3 to 4 hours, and 4 is pushing it.
Hmm.
But you eat every 3 to 4 hours, and within that 3 to 4 week time frame, your body's gonna shift you into the way that it feels best. If you're tuned in, it will tell you how it wants you to eat. It will tell you if it's intermittent fasting or if it's not.
Yeah.
It just kinda depends, and everybody is so we're all so different. But the only way you're gonna get answers, real answers, is to tune in.
Hmm. Yeah. Like, I wake up in the morning and I am starving. Like, I need to eat. Right? I can't imagine not eating for hours. Like, like, what? But that's me. And I know some people, and some people will argue with me, well, I'm not hungry in the morning. I'm like, well, we need to see what you ate, when the last time was you ate, how did you sleep? Like, there's so many pieces to it.
You are. And, so I used to be exactly the same way, and I think there's phases in our life too. So
Hmm.
it's not just about paying attention when you're working with one of us, or you're on a healing journey. It's you're always going to want to be mindful.
Hmm.
And when I was training, I was doing a lot of running. We were doing half marathons, marathons. It was insane.
Yeah.
And I would wake up starving, and now today I'm one of those people. I'll have plain old coffee with a little bit of almond milk or oat milk, no sweetener. And it's usually that and water or lemon water for a couple of hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I do so much better
Hmm.
on a shorter time frame. I'm done eating by 7:30, at most 8 o'clock, go to bed about 10 or 11, and it's working for
Yeah.
me.
Hmm.
But it's working for me in this phase of life.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily that, this is what I think is gonna be the case in 2 years or in 3 years. Things are gonna change,
Yeah.
and your life goes through various phases.
Yeah.
So,
And
right.
that's such a great point, because we have to tune in so that we can do that, right? What worked for me in my 20s and 30s doesn't work in my 40s. And me trying to go back to that way of eating because that was so great in that moment just is not working for me now, right? So many things have changed. I have a kid now, right? I got my own business. Like, so many things happening, and hormonally and all this other stuff. Like, if I don't tune in, and that's why diets and these new phases, tuning into your own body is the best diet you can do, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. It really is, and, this was a struggle. This, like, not eating for a couple of hours was really a struggle for me. Um, but waking up with the boys for school, it was
Yeah.
more stressful to try and feed me and them. And
Hmm.
once I kinda let that go and really got back to basics and started tuning into what do I need to do
Yeah.
and what does my body need me to do?
Hmm.
Once I tuned in with that, that was where everything got nailed down.
Nice. Yeah.
And oddly enough, it aligned with figuring out what was happening hormonally because
Mm.
the fertility treatments, then getting pregnant with twins, and then, it caused a shit show. It was total shit show. It took almost 3 years to figure out what was happening,
Yeah.
so to drop the weight from pregnancy, from
Hmm.
fertility, because it was both. Um, that's only just happened within the last 6 to 7 months.
Yeah.
It's figuring out the hormones, figuring out that I'm not listening to my body, that I'm actually eating in a way that I think is the way I should be eating because
Hmm.
I've always eaten.
Hmm.
Not the case anymore.
Yeah.
And, your mood is so affected. And that's the one thing we've not really talked about is mood is
Mm.
I I didn't have postpartum depression. I had postpartum anxiety.
Oh, uh-huh.
I've never had anxiety in my life. It's
Mm,
never been a thing. And it didn't seem to be going away. It was dissipating slowly, but it didn't seem to be going away. And the minute I started eating and giving myself that few hours in the morning, and granted, I will tell you, it usually takes me, this is my first cup.
mhm.
It's been around since 7 o'clock this morning. So
Yeah, I slowly sip mine too, and I put a bunch of stuff in it, but that's a whole nother conversation.
I do that. If I have a cup in the afternoon, I'll do it in the afternoon, but morning, I keep it really simple. So I'm not
Yeah,
being jacked up in my body first.
yeah, yeah,
I'm entirely positive, like, that is totally something I could do, but
mhm,
we're gonna listen, and we're gonna do
yeah.
what we're gonna do. But my ability to respond to the toddler antics,
Mm,
to manage my own emotions and
mhm.
dramatic mood shifts, because, man, this toddler age, whoa, it is insane. And, they're perfectly normal, and then 2 seconds later, you're like,
Yeah,
"Why?"
uh-huh.
Th
So, yeah, and I'm dealing with a 10-year-old whose emotions are all over the place for different reasons,
Yeah,
right? Because I love to be like, "Oh, it's gonna get better," but it just changes.
changes.
And
Yeah.
the other day, I was like, "What is going on with you?" And he I can't help it, I'm going through puberty. I'm like, "I don't think you are. And if you are, oh man, because I'm not ready for it. For
Yeah.
your emotion, like your hormonal emotional stuff and mommy's hormonal emotional stuff."
Yes. Yes. And,
Yeah.
so much better when I eat the way that my body wants it.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if it's not, for the longest time, it's like, we have to eat every couple of hours. It is a thing. We have to do this.
Mhm.
I taught my clients that.
Yeah.
And over time, I realized that a significant amount of them, their bodies were telling them to eat differently.
Yeah.
They weren't
Yeah.
telling them to eat every 3 hours.
Yeah. And I will tell you, my most anxiety was when I was living on caffeine and sugar, right? And so when you have that sugar crash, then I was just, or like my adrenals were so shot, again, whole nother conversation, where I was just tired but wired, right? Like exhausted. And then these energy like it was, I'm like, what is happening here? And not being able to sleep, which
Yeah.
we now know is so connected to the way we're eating, especially sugar. And then sleep affects how we eat, and then eating affects how we sleep. So it's this whole cyclical thing. Like, I love sleep. People make fun of me. I'm like, my bedtime, gotta go. Like, we're going skiing in North Carolina in a couple weeks, and my boyfriend's friends want to meet us. I'm like, oh, do they know I don't stay up past 10:30? Like, have they been warned? Because, like, I need my sleep. So, yeah, it's really
Yep.
funny.
Yep. My husband and my closest friends, my sister is big on making sure I eat every 3 to 4 hours when I'm with people, because there's a phrase. It's 4 hours to bitch.
Oh,
4 hours
I
to
might
bitch.
have to use that. Like, oh, has it been 4 hours? Cause yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Have you seen that cup? It's like, I'm totally off topic, but it's like I'm one drink away from bringing up shit from 3 years ago. Like I am 10 minutes away from not eating, and I'm gonna bring up some old shit because I'm just in a bad mood.
yes,
Like it's about to go down, people.
I have some bad hangry, man. It is bad.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, that's so
anything
funny.
that helps regulate my mood, I'm all
Hmm.
for. And
Yeah,
everyone knows to make sure that I'm fed, make sure I get sleep. If you mess with my sleep,
yeah.
um, mm-mm.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
every morning, Brian's always like, he's always checking in to see how I slept. Did I end
Yeah.
up in the boys' room? How long was I in the boys' room? How much sleep did you get? Like, how many eggshells do I need to walk on this?
Yeah.
Are they out or are they not out?
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And kudos to him because he puts up with me very, very
Oh,
well.
yeah. Oh,
Oh, it is insane. Well, I know you have a couple of sessions coming up with alternative healthcare solutions, just like I do. Um, do you want to talk about kind of what you have in your mind for these sessions or for the future? Things you want to see?
Yeah, actually, the immediate one that I'm working on, I did sugar and emotions, right? I started talking about the reasons for cravings and what you can do. Then I really like dived into the emotional piece because it really is such a huge piece. That we just, again, we use food to manage our emotions. But the most recent one I'm doing is sleep. Because I'm like, we really need to talk about sleep. Yeah. So I want to talk about, we're going to talk about, again, how sugar affects our sleep, how sleep affects our sugar, and like really what the heck we can do about it beyond just like a healthy sleep routine, like some other things that we can do about it. And as far as food, like tuning in. So I'm actually going to share 2 tips with that if you don't really mind right
By
now.
all
Sleep.
means.
So there are 2 types of people, right? As far as sleep. If you cannot fall asleep, right? I have clients who cannot fall asleep. And it's because they have eaten, you got to look at your dinner. Did you have too many carbohydrates? Are you on that weird sugar high? And then your body cannot relax. So you need to look at what you're eating before you go to sleep. That's something I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into. But then there's the other folks like me who can't stay asleep sometimes. This can be a problem for me. And this was because my blood sugar was dropping at night because I was raised, you don't eat hours before you go to sleep, right? You don't want food in your stomach. And it makes sense. And for a lot of people, it does. And I wouldn't eat for hours before I'd go to sleep. And then I would go to sleep. And after a few hours, I'd wake up and couldn't go back to sleep. And if
Mhm.
this happens to you, I suggest you have a protein and fiber snack with some healthy fat right before you go to sleep. I know this sounds crazy, right? For the folks who are like, I don't want to have food in my stomach, but it was enough that my body could process some of that while I was sleeping and enough to sustain my blood sugar without dropping really low. So that's some of the things we're just going to talk about. There's so many other things as far as like sleep routines and herbs and all that other stuff, but food, so much, your sleep can be helped so much by your food.
Really can.
Yeah.
Really can. I mean, I love using herbs for so many things. And there are definitely herbs that will help you relax.
Yeah.
But if your food's not right,
Yeah.
there's not much it can do. It's going to help you relax, but it's not going to get you over the hump.
Yeah. And if really like when I was waking up, I was like, what is wrong with me? I had my hormones tested and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, and my blood sugar's dropping. Because then when they did my blood work, like your blood sugar is super duper low in the morning. I'm like, oh, okay. That makes sense. you know, need to be
Yeah.
eating. So there are a lot of things you can do with food. So those are the things I'm going to talk about. I'm very, very excited about that. Because for you, I don't know if this happens to you. I'm like, wow, there's so many things I want to talk about. Like, what do I talk about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. I love being given the opportunity to present several times a month because my brain is just like
Hmm.
with ideas that and when we first started, it was just I had so many. I didn't know
Yeah.
which direction to go in.
Yeah. It's crazy, but it's amazing. So over time, everyone's going to get all the stuff, especially if you're part of the community, you'll get all of that. So yay.
Yeah, if you're part of the community, you actually can go back and watch all of these replays. You can
Hmm.
watch. So we're recording just before our January 11th health fair. So you can actually go back inside the community and you can watch these. And one of the things that we are each given is 10 free tickets, either into the event or into the community. So if you hop in the community, you will get 30 days for free. So you can hop in, you can check out the replays that you want, see if it's for you. And then, if not, then okay,
Yeah.
cancel, move on. No big deal. The whole purpose of this is to give you a team at your
Yeah.
feet, and some of us need that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I do. I'm learning so much from other people. It's amazing.
Yeah, when I lost weight, I had a team.
Hmm. Hmm.
When I had to deal with my dairy intolerance, there was a team,
Hmm.
and I was friends with all of them, but there was still a team.
Still holding you accountable.
But one of the
Yeah.
perks, I think it's a blessing and a curse in this industry, is we all keep each other accountable. I
Hmm.
can't walk up to you and go, "Oh my God, I had this chocolate cake. I just couldn't resist it," because I know that that's not true.
Yeah. Hmm. Be like, come on
You
now. Oh,
you can't
that's so
do
funny.
that. That is no longer a thing. But the blessing of it is when something does happen, when there's an issue health-wise, there's someone there that's gonna
I
have an
know. I
and
know.
especially if it's, one of the biggest helpers for me, especially through this whole fertility journey, is not being able to kind of look from outside yourself.
Yeah.
and see things.
Yeah.
To
I
have a
mean, yeah, I have a good friend who's functional medicine practitioner, and I had to hire her last year. And I'm like, it kills me because I know what I should be eating. She's like, but it's not that. There's other things that we need to test, right? And all this testing that we need to do, and some hormonal stuff because my OBGYN wouldn't test my hormones, just wanted to give me a pill, and like doesn't sit right. And good thing I didn't take the pill, because the pill she was going to give me was just going to throw me further into balance. Because, she's like, you're in
yeah.
perimenopause. Like, that's it. This is what we do. I'm like, and I understand that testing hormones is, but I did the 2 days of at different times because I wanted to know what was going on. And so
Maybe.
that was what needed to be fixed. And so it's also amazing to have people to do that.
Yeah,
Right. Like you said. Yeah, it's great. It's a great community. So
it
happy
is.
to be part of it.
It is. And, for people out there who aren't part of this community, one of the things that when I first started losing weight was trying to find somebody that you can actually trust.
I know.
That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the field, you weed through all of that,
Oh, yeah.
you can weed through it. But when you don't know, you don't know. So I love that alternative healthcare is a thing. And obviously links will be below.
Yay!
So,
So,
so do you have any final thoughts for everybody listening before we say cheers and move on with our days?
I do. I want to say it's just one step at a time, right? Like sometimes we want to bite off more than we can chew. Like I said at the beginning of my journey, I did some extreme things just because I was so scared, but you really don't need to do that. It's just small steps and making healthier choices and just being consistent with your healthier choices. That's really it. And tweaking the meals that you already love. We don't have to create this whole different persona, lifestyle, like all of it. So I went to the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, and the founder, he was like so excited when he started finding all this. And he was like telling his parents, and they were like, so why can't we just eat the foods we already love to eat? And he was like, okay, wow. And he's like, that really stuck with me and struck a chord, because he's like, oh, well, they're right. Like, we already like this. Like, obviously, I'm Italian. I can't eat pasta every day, but like, how do I find healthier versions of the stuff I already like? It's easier to transition with that. And my second thing is give yourself a freaking break, right? There's going to be backsliding. There's going to be guilt. There's like, it's a process. It's a journey. If I can do it, anyone can do it, because I lived on caffeine and sugar for so long, and you don't have to have a health crisis to do it. So those are my 2 parting thoughts.
I love it. They're really good. Great points, especially, we need to give ourselves a little grace. We're human beings. I get it. We're not super beings. We're human beings. So for sure. Well, thank
Thanks so
you
much.
so much for coming on. I am so excited, and I'm excited to be a part of AHS with you. A lot of value there. So like I said, links are in the show notes, and I am looking forward to next episode. And for this year, we have a lot of exciting things for you guys. So stay tuned. And for now, cheers.